first, let me just thank Michelle for her leadership. She serves as board chair of Capital Area United Way. And those of you who are familiar with any nonprofit organization, board chair is an important role. And they set the tone for certainly my work and the work of the organization. And she has done a just remarkable job in that role. So thank you for those kind words. And then to Carl, welcome to Rotary, man. I didn't know him before, but I'm proud to say that UREC is a funded partner of Capital Area United Way, so how fitting is that? I gotta tell you, it feels awkward being up here in front of so many people without a trumpet in my hand. But I couldn't think of a better place to be and a better reason to be here, and that is to talk about the Alice population in our community. And I thought long and hard about how I wanted to share this message with you and this information about this segment of our population. But I hope you get something out of this, because this is really, I think, a better understanding of Alice and the challenges of the Alice population in our community is the key to, I think, addressing many of the problems and the ills that you've heard over the last few weeks. I mean, you heard Murphy Paul talk about crime. You heard Mike Berto talk about, from Blue Cross, talk about Medicaid and what lies ahead for those almost million people that are going to be finding themselves kicked off of the Medicaid ranks. So when we understand Alice and the challenges that Alice faces, then I think we as a community can start making better decisions and better public policy to address those. And then we can mobilize the support that's needed to help these families. So here goes. An introduction to Alice. But you know, let me do this before I get started. You heard the introduction. I told everybody that's affiliated with United Way that I was going to do this, so I need to get it out of the way so I don't have to worry about it later. I want to first start with board members. I want every board member to stand up of Capital Area United Way, every board member to stand up and remain standing. Okay. I want every cabinet member and every committee member to stand up. All right, I want my staff to stand up. I want anyone who's ever volunteered for United Way to stand up. And there are a bunch of you out there. All right, I want our corporate partners to stand up, and some of them are already standing, but if you're not in any of those groups. All right, now I want any donor or member of an affinity group that is not already standing to stand up. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is the army of folks who help us do what we do for this community, in this 10-parish community that we serve. So everything I'm talking about today, they're already squarely behind it. Okay? So thank y'all. Thank you for what you do. All right, glad I got that out of the way. All right, let's talk about Alice. So Alice, first of all, is an acronym that stands for Asset Limited, Income Constrained, but Employed. Now, I know that's a mouthful, but short, it stands for those folks that are above the poverty line, but don't earn enough on a regular basis to cover their monthly livable expenses. I've heard it referred to as a working poor, but I think Alice is a more accurate description of what and who they are. Now, above the poverty line means that they don't qualify for many of the programs that the government offers. They're not eligible. They make too much. You've heard the term. They make too much to qualify for those kinds of benefits that are there as a safety net for communities. And you're going to hear that that is something that will be a common theme among the ALICE populations that we are talking about. Now, before I get into the ALICE information, I need to also qualify that the report or the data that I'll be sharing today is from the 2018, is based on 2018 data, but comes from the 2020 report. Now, we are on the brink of another report that's going to be released in May, the last week of May of 2023. That will include everything up to the year 2020. So it's a little bit old information, but I think you get the gist of ALICE and the magnitude of this population in our community. So mark your calendars for the new report release date. I think it is May 25th in the state of Louisiana. And then you can also receive or find additional information at unitedforalice.org, unitedforalice.org. Okay, so let's talk about ALICE. So what does the household survival budget look like? Well, household survival budget means housing, child care, food, transportation, health care, technology, basic technology, a phone plan, and then some miscellaneous expenses that may include taxes and things like that. So no frills, no vacations, no birthday celebrations, no, it's just basic living expenses. And this data looks at the cost of all of those items by region, by parish, and even sometimes by municipalities. So it's very rich, it's very deep data that gives you a snapshot of what it costs to maintain a basic household, whether you're single, whether you're married, or whether you're a senior citizen, or whether you're a family of four. It looks at those different categories. The other common denominator is that because folks are working, they're in low-wage jobs. Low-wage jobs. And that's a theme you're going to hear throughout this presentation as well. So, when we take a look at Louisiana, we're looking at I guess the tan or the greenish color represents those folks that are above the ALICE threshold, meaning that they earn more than the basic living expenses. We're at 49% in 2018. That is almost half of our population in the state of Louisiana. The blue looks at poverty, and one of the things this data shows is that poverty has remained pretty steady, pretty level throughout from 2007 all the way through 2018. What has grown has been the segment of the population that is above poverty but earns less than the household living budget. So I want you to keep that in mind. Now, so in total here, 51% of our total households in this ALICE report were below the ALICE threshold. All right, on this graph you see two lines. The dark blue line is the line for poverty, and it shows from 2007 all the way through 2018. It's been relatively flat, right at about 300,000 households or individuals. But if you look at that light blue line, that's the ALICE line. Those are the folks who found themselves earning less than the household budget that I told you about. That's where the pain comes from. That's where families and communities that are feeling squeezed, that's where that's coming from. Now, let's look at what the demographics look like. And this is a breakdown by parish in our 10 parish area. And again, the total for our 10 parish area of Alice is 51%, or 49%, I'm sorry, 49% for our 10 parish area. For East Baton Rouge Parish, it's 52% that are below the Alice threshold. All right, so let's look at some of the demographics. And each circle represents 30,000 lives. And when you look at the different groups there, you see that there is no group that is not impacted or not affected by Alice. The blue represents those families that are living below the Alice threshold. The gold represent those that are living above the Alice threshold. So you can see that there are some groups that have a real serious challenge. A high percentage of those individuals, those folks, are living below the Alice threshold. This is a different look at it. It breaks down by different groups. And again, we're talking about individuals that are in these different classes or categories. And, you know, when you look at those that are under the age of 25, that's 70, and I need my glasses. Yeah, there we go, 79%. 79% of the population 25, under the age of 25, are below Alice. That's a big number. And then you look at some of the others, single head of household families with children. And it says male, but I think it's single, both male and female. That's 60%. So we're talking about pockets of our population that cut across all demographics, and they are more likely to be living below the Alice threshold than not. There's another graph I want to share with you. This is the basic budget, those items that I shared with you earlier. And interesting thing, this was done in 2018, but there are some lines that show where the different levels were as far as stimulus payments and things like that. Those payments were intended to be a big help, and in some cases they were, but they still did not cover the income of those low-end wage earners who lost a lot of income during the pandemic. So there's some real damage that was done to those households during the pandemic. And I think as we look forward to the next report that comes out, we will see some of that impact. And that's the Federal CARES Act stimulus check amounts that were paid by each group. All right, this is a slide that really got my attention. This slide looks at the level of different job categories, whether it was growth or whether it was just basic job, or whether it was remained flat from 2007 to 2018. And what you're looking at shows that in the orange or the green or gold line, it shows that high wage jobs, those are jobs where the income of the wage earner was above the Alice threshold. Those jobs actually decreased over that period. The blue line represents the jobs that were low wage jobs. Those jobs actually increased over that period of time. And then the jobs where when you have two wage earners in a household that are in the median group, they pretty much remain flat. So those jobs remain flat over that period of time. But it requires two wage earners to make ends meet. Now, what this tells me is that you could have a situation where unemployment is very low because there were jobs created during this period, but you still have Alice. You still have folks that are living in Alice that are feeling the pain of not being able to meet monthly expenses. So, with all of that information, what does having sufficiency look like? Well, when folks are able to earn enough, then they are in safe, affordable housing, quality child care and education, quality health care. They're able to save. They're able to have reliable technology to deal with a lot of the changes and remote work situations and things like that. They have adequate food. And then they have reliable transportation. That's what having sufficient income can do for a family. Now, I mentioned that there was additional information available. This is the site that you can go to, unitedforalice.org. And I encourage you to go take a look at it because there's some wonderful information there. Now, how do we help? Because I think that's the logical question. With what we are experiencing, what we have in our community, what does it look like in our region, in our 10-parish region? And more importantly, how can we help? Or who we help, and then how can we help? So this is a snapshot, again, of the 2018 data found in the 2020 report that shows what our 10-parish area looks like and what the Alice population looks like in each parish. And you can see it ranges from kind of a low of 38% in, is that Ascension? And then as high as 59% in St. Helena. Think about that. Almost 6 out of 10 individuals are below the Alice threshold in St. Helena. So, how do we help? Well, I can tell you that since I've been here, 2016, we have made the Alice population our North Star. And what I mean by that, we have baked it into everything that we do. We look at it through the lens of how does this help Alice? So there are a couple of categories that we work with. One is programs and initiatives. And these are things that programs and initiatives are things that we do. We found that there's a gap in community, and we actually provide these services. And the one that comes to mind, top of the list, is our 211. If you don't take anything else away from this speech today, I want you to take the fact that 211, those three numbers, can serve as a connector of needs to resources. Three simple numbers that anyone can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, during disasters, anytime, and speak to a live person who can then give them information about available resources in their community by zip code. And they're able to not only give them what they ask for, but through a series of questions, they're able to give them additional information about, do you need, if you need rental assistance, do you need food support? Do you need to know where the nearest pantry is? Do you need to know additional information that can help you? That's why we are so tied to that. So those three numbers, and you can call for information. This shows some of the categories. I actually ask our person who handles that, what are the top 5 categories that people call for? Number 1 is housing. Number 2, utility assistance. Number 3, food, meals. Number 4, income support and assistance. And number 5, healthcare. I don't think there are any surprises in that list when you think about some of the challenges that the Alice population faces. We've had on average as many as 40,000 calls in a year to that 211 from our region. So it is a heavily used resource that really provides support for our communities. All right, another area is last January, we brought in a coalition of banks that are all involved in providing support to the unbanked and to those who are in need of financial literacy training and what have you. And we brought that in under our United Way umbrella. And we now have a financial coach on our staff. We do literacy training throughout the communities. We provide wraparound services to those folks who receive volunteer income tax assistance support from us. This is an opportunity for us to fill the gap, the knowledge gap that exists with some of the folks who are in the Alice population. The NFL Character Playbook is a program that we've been doing for years. It's offered free of charge to schools. We have it in over 30 schools, and these schools are able to receive instruction from an online platform that helps kids with how not to bully, how to resolve conflict, how to improve your just basic ability to get along with others. It's a very well done program, and we've done it, like I said, since I've been here the last 6 years. And at the end of the year, we do something big for the kids that complete the program. All right, single care. Now, coming from a healthcare background, this was one that was very important to me. And this is a card, a simple card that, in fact, we left some on your table. They're available for you there. But all you have to do is log on to Single Care website and put in a medication that you may be on. And that information, and you plug in your zip code, and it'll give you the cost by pharmacy that offers that resource. It's a wonderful tool to use. And the other thing I learned is that, and this is an actual example of how, of one of the meds. I don't know which. Lipitor. Okay. 40 milligrams. So the price ranges from $4.99, and then you have another one, $14.78, all the way up to $20 and really $46. So think about that. Think about the variation there, and if you have a high deductible plan, that's a great way to save some dollars. We make those available everywhere we go. All right, now one of our biggies is Super Tax Day, and I am so proud to say that we have done this for a number of years now, well over 10 years, and this is the one-day event is a program that Entergy sponsors. But we did 241 tax returns at Super Tax Day. That's in one day at the main library. And throughout the course of a year, for example, the last 3 years in 2021, we did over 6,500 tax returns. And those returns brought back to the community over $9 million in refunds. Now think about the impact of that. And one of the essence of the tax preparation, it's all professionally done, but the essence of it is that it helps those individuals that are low to moderately income it helps them qualify for the earned income tax credit. And that is one of the major ways that they can get ahead. Now, I have a couple of stories I'll share with you, and it just blows you away at the impact that this can have. So one is a recent one. There was a gentleman who had elderly gentleman who had adopted 2 kids from a relationship a personal relationship that he had. And this was a situation where he had been over 3 years that he had adopted these kids. He filed his taxes without claiming these kids in prior years. So when he came to us, we identified that he was eligible to go back and file claiming these kids. He also realized, or they also realized, that he wasn't able to receive his stimulus payments because of his situation. He didn't have the right information in there. He got a $27,000 refund as a result of going to one of our free tax preparers, and that was a major change for him. That made a huge difference. Another example, there's a young lady, her name is Jordan, and she worked at one of the restaurants here in town. And she was complaining that she had to have her taxes prepared, and the person that, the table, this was a divine setup. The person that she was complaining to said, "Hey, I'm a volunteer with Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Why don't you have your taxes prepared? Let us do that for you." She made an appointment, called 211 to make an appointment, made an appointment, got her taxes done. She qualified for the Earned Income Tax Credit, received a $2,500 refund because she qualified for the Earned Income Tax Credit. And that was enough for her to pay off debt. That was enough for her to purchase a bed for one of her kids. And then she had talked about going back to school. So she was able to go back to school. Now you think about 6,500 claims, the stories that can come out of that. Last year it was just under 6,000 claims. This year through February, we were right at 3,000 claims. And we still have a week to go before the end of tax season. Very impactful. That's the kind of program that really makes a difference. All right, United We Feed, that's another service that we started providing during the pandemic, and what can I say? That's a lot. United for Vets is another program that we do. But let me get to the grants that we offer. We offer quite a portfolio of grants. We have 3-year funding to the tune of $1.5 million annually for 3 years to 21 nonprofits. Basic needs grants for 1 year. We have other grants as well. And I know I'm running low on time, but here's the part I wanted to get to. So how can you help? Because you see what we are doing. How can you help? How can you get in on it? How can you join the army of people that are already doing this work? And I think there are a couple of things that I want to share with you, and that is, number one, if you're individuals, by all means, give, advocate, and donate. It's pretty simple. Give, advocate on behalf of the ALICE population, and then volunteer. Now, for businesses, I gave a little more thought to this, and I think there's more that businesses can do. First, you need to recognize and support ALICE employees in your workforce. Recognize that wages and benefits play a key role in that. Number two, support programs that support ALICE, like you heard about some of the programs I talked about, Volunteer Income Tax Assistance. Number three, invest in workforce development training for ALICE. That's one of the main ways that people can move from where they are to a job that pays them adequately. Another is advocate for sound public policy which supports ALICE. And then the last is support organizations like United Way that have a proven track record of supporting ALICE. Now, you have some goodies at your table. 225 Gives. It's our annual day of giving, May 4th. Please, please go to that website, 225gives.org. Find one of the nonprofits that you like, or several, and support them on this day of giving. It's a big deal, and the nonprofit community really needs that support. Second, we have several events that we have coming up for United Way. Check them out. You have a QR code that will direct you to our website that has that information. It has been an honor to be here today to share this information. I hope you got something out of it, and I will stick around for questions. I know we have a hard stop at 1, but I will be around. I'll speak to every single person that wants to talk to me or ask me about the work of United Way and how you can get involved in supporting it. Thank you for this moment, and I look forward to seeing you.